I'm Chef Egg, and we're going to get underneath the shell of the most creative people in Baltimore. This is What's Crackin' with Chef Egg. So we got Scotty P from Jah Works sitting in front of me. How you doing today, sir?
I'm at the top of my game, Egg.
Excellent.
Yeah, man.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, what it means to be a creative person, what it means to be an artist.
Okay.
Kind of the ups and downs. The sideway ventures that happen in the life of a creative individual.
Dig it.
First, I want you to just, what do you do for work? How do you make money as a creative person?
Mainly, the money that's coming in right now is performance. Mm-hmm. I go out and sing and play guitar and play music for people, and that's my main source of income.
Cool. Are you playing with some groups?
Yeah, well, Jah Works is the the foundation for 24 years. Been playing music with Jah Works, but as guys get older and have families, the band isn't quite as busy as it used to be. So I've had to branch out and do a lot of my own shows.
And how are you enjoying that?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because I play with some good musicians, guys like you, and Dave McGarvey on bass, and just it's an opportunity to play different kinds of music with different musicians.
How important is it for you to play different kinds of music? I know Jah Works does a lot of reggae music. Yeah. How important is it as an artist, as a musician, to venture out into different styles?
I think, it's not for everybody, but for me personally, I grew up listening to so many different kinds of music, and reggae was always my main love. But long before I got into reggae, I was hearing rock and roll and R&B and blues and things like that. So I think for me personally, it's what sustains me playing other kinds of music. Because if I just played reggae, I wouldn't nearly work as often as I do. So it's very important.
So you got to play what the people want to hear.
Yeah, to a certain extent. But then on the other hand, people ask us what we're going to play, and I'll say like whatever we feel like. Mm-hmm. So if you can play more than one style, I think it's good for you because you're just more available to do different events. You can play private parties. You know what I mean? So being versatile and well-rounded is good for everybody, especially musicians.
What is your favorite part about being a professional musician?
Having my time to myself, setting my own schedule, waking up when I want to wake up. I think not having to get up in the morning and owe my time to someone else. That's probably the thing I love the most.
What do you hate about being a professional musician?
Financial insecurity, anxiety over how you're going to pay the bills because the bills keep coming, whether the shows come or not. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the part I hate the most. It's just the precarious nature of your income from time to time.
And I certainly do understand that. What do you do in that downtime to keep your creative juices flowing?
Well, it's funny you ask because the last few weeks, every time I go into the winter, you get a little anxious, a little janky, a little jumpy about where the money's coming from. Mm-hmm. So I've been really focusing hard on writing more, staying busy, setting my calendar up each week to have meetings with other musicians, get together with other artists. And for me lately, it's trying to be as creative as possible. Mm-hmm. So even if there's not a lot of income coming in, I try and be productive on the front end of the production thing, like where I'm writing songs or I'm going to meet with musicians and jamming with them and trying to lay the foundation and plant the seeds, so to speak, for the next spring and summer. So when you get to the busy time again, you have new material, you have new songs to play. And as an artist, like the best feeling I always have is when I'm recording or writing, producing music. So that takes a lot of the anxiety away. When you're busy and you're scheduled to link with this guy or with these people to play music or write songs, you always feel like a force is at work.
Yeah.
And
so collaboration with other artists is very important to you?
Oh, yeah. I think that's where I do my best work. Ever since Jah Works started, it was always guys making songs together. Yeah. And, I've had some songs that I wrote all by myself. But even those songs, you feel like you're a vehicle for a greater force that's moving through you as an artist. So I think the more people you work with, for me personally, a lot of artists are different. But for me, collaboration is huge.
I know that just, as a chef and as a musician as well, I only play the drums.
Right.
And I cook food, but working with other people takes you on a journey you never knew existed.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important even just to get out of your house and have lunch
Yeah.
We have lunch often.
Right.
It's just nice to get out of the house and get out of your space and work with others, because that's where the ideas come from.
Yeah, get out of your own head. When you're in your own head, a lot of these thoughts are banging around on the walls, and that's when you start feeling like your back is against the wall.
Yeah.
Like spiritually, you feel kind of trapped. But the more you link with other people, and when we have rehearsals downstairs, everybody comes out of the basement feeling energized.
Absolutely. So it's that art that kind of brings you to life.
Yeah,
it's the collaboration.
It's a real natural high.
Yeah.
You feel motivated, you feel energized, and you feel like your spirit has been lifted.
Yeah. What do you do, when things are going really well for you? Do you ever think, oh my God, this could end tomorrow, or let's just ride this wave?
Well, if you look at the calendar year, from like April or May to about September, October, that's the high season for me as a musician, as a working artist. So, you're obviously having a lot of fun, but you're busy. It's a great time. You're getting less rest. So, I don't know. I just enjoy the ride. And I know that, things do slow down every year. So you just kind of enjoy it while it's there, because it's going to end.
Another friend I was talking to about, what to do in those slow times. And he was like, the month of September is 0 for me. If I get 1 or 2 jobs, I'm lucky.
Wow.
He said, so I just take that month off.
Right.
And I use that as my vacation month to rest and recuperate.
Right.
And I was like, that's really, really smart, because you don't put those expectations on yourself that I've got to get things done.
Sure.
I know September, or, for you, maybe the month of December is my slow month. So that's my vacation, and that's when I can put my mind and my body to rest.
Yeah, I get a lot of rest, and I try and get to the gym more often during these down months, because it's just important to keep your vibe up, and exercise is great. And just when you're at the gym and you don't have like a time constraint, you can stay there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Do yoga for 40 minutes, and then go lift weights for a half hour, and then go swim for 45 minutes. It's fun.
You like swimming, huh?
I love to swim.
When I swim, it's like total zen for me.
Yeah.
My body's working. I'm literally concentrating on breathing and staying alive.
Breathing, yeah.
And you get out of the pool and you feel so refreshed.
Oh man. Yesterday I got up to 27 laps, which is 3/4 of a mile.
3/4 of a mile. You gotta get that mile.
Yeah,
man.
I started at 9, and then I bumped it to 18 after a couple weeks, and yesterday I did 27, and you feel like Superman. You come out of the pool and your body even looks different in the mirror. Yeah. Like, wow, I'm not as flabby as I was before I got in.
I got some Michael Phelps energy up in there.
Yeah, the shoulders start to pop out a little bit,
I find it's a great place being in the water, is that you can literally, I'm not very good at quieting my mind.
Yeah.
Even doing things like yoga and meditation, I get very bored quickly.
Yeah.
And as a drummer, I always feel that I've got to be doing something. I have to be active for my brain to be free.
Right.
So I find, like I said, swimming, when you're working, you're concentrating on your breath. Yoga can tell you to concentrate on your breath, but you're like, let's get real. I'm in a room with a bunch of, pretty girls in their yoga pants, and I'm hoping I don't fart and make a fool out of myself. But when you are swimming,
no one knows if you fart when you're in the pool,
except the bubbles. But when you're swimming, you're forced to breathe, and you're forced to breathe properly, or you will drown.
Yeah.
And I think just that meditation, you try to think about something, and your mind won't let you. It can truly concentrate on the breath and the action of your body. I think it's the same with music as well. When we're jamming with our friends, when you're playing, with Jah Works, and you have all those people working together.
Yeah.
Your brain, you can be free.
Yeah, well, you said it. You quiet the mind, and when I practice yoga, I think I'm probably a little more successful than you, because yoga is very much like swimming to me. Yeah. It's all about focusing in on the breath and being aware of the breath. And swimming, my mind wanders all over the pool. It really does. Mainly what I do when I'm swimming is I'm counting the laps.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times if I don't, I lose track of how many laps I've swam. Yeah, but sometimes. I lose track of how many laps I've swam.
Yeah.
And so I try and just repeat the number of the lap that I'm on, at least for half of that lap.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the rest of the time, my mind is elsewhere.
I'm free.
Yeah. I love the pool because it feels like you're flying.
Yeah.
I love that when you push off at the beginning of a lap, it's like a Superman thing.
Yep.
You're rising to the surface.
And you're weightless.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
What is the coolest thing you have ever experienced through your life as a creative person, but also as a musician? What is the coolest gig you've ever had?
Oh, man. I don't know if I could really quantify what the coolest one was. There's probably a handful of coolest ones. Opening up for big superstars from Jamaica, like big reggae icons. That's always exciting. We played at Merriweather Post Pavilion.
Yeah, how was that? That is so cool.
Being on that big stage is that's something else for an artist, because you're used to playing in a bar or a local club or a venue that, isn't all that noteworthy.
Yeah.
And then when we went to Merriweather, I mean, everything is just top rank, top flight. All the production quality is so high.
Yeah.
You have an army of people working to ensure that your performance is optimal. So that's great. Going to Africa with Maxi Priest was a real highlight.
You went to Africa. Where did you go in Africa?
I was traveling with Maxi Priest in October to Uganda. He had a jazz festival that he was performing at, and he needed an extra vocalist to be in the group.
Yeah.
So I went over there and performed with Maxi Priest in Kampala, Uganda.
And how did that feel being on that stage in front of that, just different types of people than in America? How did that react to you?
That was awesome. That was real creative validation.
Yeah.
To be so far from home and no one knew who I was, and just I got so much love, from everybody. There were 10,000 people there.
Yeah, that's crazy. What does it feel like to play in front of a crowd of 10,000 people?
It's otherworldly. Like my breathing, my heartbeat was so elevated. Those first couple songs that I was on stage, that Maxie actually put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Take a deep breath, slow down." Because you don't even realize how you're racing. You're racing through it, and you have to really consciously return to the breath.
Yeah.
And it's all the breathing. It's the breath in your lungs, and that's what keeps you in the moment. So it took me a little while to adjust to that. But I've been in front of big crowds like that before, but never so many thousands of miles away from home. And it was an amazing experience. Africa is a beautiful place.
Yeah. What did you take away from that experience?
Well, what you realize is that most Americans don't even have a passport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So people get offended when they hear that. But the fact is, I've been traveling since I was in college, and I've been blessed to go to a lot of different countries. And I think it's so important for people to leave their own sense of what they know and the known in their lives.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
And I'm on my third passport.
Yeah.
And I don't travel nearly as much as some people do. And I want to travel so much more in the rest of my years. But you just have to realize that it's not all about you. And on a national level, it's not all about the United States. It's about the world. And it's a big world out there. So you need to go see it.
I think, it's so interesting. You go to another place and you rely on the population for communication, for food. Where's the bathroom?
Yeah.
What's the coolest thing to see? And if you come with a very closed mind, they will shut you out immediately.
Oh, yeah.
If you go, I've been to Costa Rica and Nicaragua. I've been to Europe and the Middle East and Africa as well.
Right.
But if you go there with an open heart and open eyes, they'll open the doors to their world for you.
Yeah. Well, I brought a lot of music and stickers and CDs and T-shirts, and everywhere I went, I was just doling things out to people. And
it's a great way to make friends.
When you give away things of yourself, then you get it back tenfold.
Yeah, and that's something. Working in food, working in music, it's the same thing. And the more rehearsal, the more practice, the more skills I have, the more energy I can put out to people, the better it is. And you're right. The more you get back, and it's instantaneous.
Oh, it's amazing.
You don't have to wait for that return energy. Not that we do it for the return energy, but that's the cycle.
Oh, it's the best though.
Yeah.
It's the best because you get more confident. You believe in yourself more. The more people receive what you're putting out into the universe, the more people receive it enthusiastically, then the more confident you feel offering it the next day or to the next scenario.
Well, you talk about that confidence, and this is something that I really want to discuss with you, because when I came up in the music game, Jah Works, you guys were #1 here in Baltimore. And we've become friends, and I think I have to constantly remind you of that.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're one of the greatest reggae singers in the world. And they're like, shut up, Egg. But I think it's true. I've listened to tons of reggae singers, and it's a lot of repetitive stuff. It's a lot of just not very original lyrics and style and flow.
Yeah.
And then I always tell people, and then there's Scotty P.
Wow.
And that's and some next level stuff. So how do you feel? When people do tell you that kind of stuff, how they make you feel and what your art has done for them. Because, you're a pretty humble fella. But, I think it's important to remind people that you admire, that you do admire them. How, with your confidence level, do you have low confidence in your art? Even with all the work and the thousands of shows you've done, you have such a record of awesomeness, if you ask me.
Thank you, man.
But how do is it true that even somebody like you would have a low self-esteem or low confidence about their art?
Yeah, I think that's the other side of the coin for most creatives, is that you can be soaring one moment on your accomplishment or on your accolades, and then the next morning you can wake up and just feel like, man, what do I have to show for all this?
Yeah.
So, while some creatives are wildly successful financially, most creative people, they labor on in anonymity. You know what I mean? And I mean, Van Gogh didn't sell a painting until after he was gone. So you can meditate on that a lot. And sometimes I think there's a great insecurity that goes hand in hand with talent and ability and achievement. So for me, I have crisis of confidence all the time. And it's very important that you listen to people when they tell you what their perception of you is. Mm-hmm. You really need to take that in and believe it, because sometimes people see you better than you see yourself, a lot of times. And it's easier for other people seeing you from the outside to see something as clear as what you said about me. But if I was to walk around thinking that all the time, then
you'd be an asshole.
I'd be a jerk. I'd be some kind of jerk. So, and I've met people like that in the music business who they're insecure, but they project an air of uber security. Yeah. And that's so unappealing that that's almost like a cautionary tale for me. But I think it's important to believe the people who care about you when they tell you what they tell you about yourself. Yeah. You have to do that.
I always I get feedback from people I'll be in the Giant and people are like, "Oh, Chef Egg, I see you on TV." Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool. I didn't even know that people even care."
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that people care about, what you do.
Yeah.
What is the funkiest thing that's ever happened to you on the road? Just something bad happened, a challenge on the road or in your journey, and I want to know how you overcame that challenge.
Well, when I was a younger artist, probably in my early 30s, I had a lot less patience than I have now with others and with myself. So at one point I was struggling with my throat and my voice and recovering from singing too much, because earlier on in Jah Works' career, we played a lot of shows, like 5-6 shows a week during the summertime. So one time we were down in the Carolinas, and someone had told me to bring some apple cider vinegar on the road and gargle with it. So I did. And at one point we were going from one town to the next in North Carolina or South Carolina. And I get out of the van at the Motel 6 or wherever we are, and I get my bag out of the trailer, and I can smell the apple cider vinegar like from 10 feet away. Yeah. And I open my bag, and the bottle had shattered, so there's vinegar all over my clothes. Yeah. And I start cursing up a storm and slamming my bag down and breaking whatever part of the bottle wasn't broken yet. And I remember just feeling so heated and so frustrated and so angry.
At a bottle of vinegar.
And I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to wear tonight? And blah, blah, blah. And so the moral of the story is, like, it's not the end of the world. And when I was younger, things would happen all the time that I would think were just insurmountable obstacles to happiness or to feeling satisfied. And so I think what I've learned over the years is that, it's not that big of a deal. Like, just let it go. And again, return to the breath. When you're feeling really frustrated, people say, woo-sa, whatever the method is, you just have to calm yourself, because most of the time when something seems like you can't get past it, it's because you're too hype, you're too upset, you're too emotional about it. Mm-hmm. And emotional intelligence is something that you get. If you stick with something long enough, you start getting a little more emotionally intelligent about how to go about what you do.
So talking about emotional intelligence, have you ever been in love?
Several times. Yeah. Couple, like 2 or 3 major love affairs, and then probably a half dozen minor league love affairs, you know, that kind of flamed out after 3 or 6 months. But yeah, I had 2 or 3 great loves, you know, that weren't meant to be.
How do you think, this is a 2-part question, but how do you think the upside of love affects your creativity and your art? The good side of the love.
Yeah, that's there's nothing like it. You know, when they talk about the muses and artists who have a muse, there's nothing like it. I remember falling in love one time, and Maxwell's first album, The Urban Hang Suite, was out. And it was that song, Don't Ever Wonder. And everywhere I went, it was on the radio.
Yeah.
Every time I got into a vehicle, it was on the radio. And I was like, man, this is mirroring my life.
Yeah.
And it was like he was singing it to me and my lady.
Yeah.
And so, you know, back in that time, I wrote a lot of songs for that woman. And we were together for 4 years. And everything was informed by that. And that informed everything else. So it felt like a big circle. And then, you know, it kind of ended. And so then you go through a period where you're trying to regather yourself and reevaluate what it is you want. And, you know, I see people who are married happily.
Yeah.
And then I know people who are married unhappily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of times where I lament that I'm not married. Either way, happy or unhappy. I don't want to be married unhappily.
Nah.
But, you know, the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
You know, people always want what they don't have. And then when you have it, maybe you don't want it. So I try and just keep a level vibe. And I know that, you know, I'll be in love again.
How does the underside of love, the fall from grace of a relationship affect your songwriting? I know that, you know, the loss and the negative emotion can really fuel songwriting specifically.
Yeah, I think anybody who's in the creative arts, disappointment and letdowns, those things inform your music sometimes more than happiness.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you're an artist, you're dealing with universal concepts, things that everyone can relate to. So, you know, everyone's had their heart broken. Everyone's had their feelings hurt. So some of those songs are really, they're healing, you know, and people feel it, and you get instant reaction from songs like that. I'm like, oh, man, I've been through that. You know, what you said, man, that's me.
Yeah, there are not even a handful, probably 2 handfuls of songs that you have written.
Yeah.
That, you know, I can play for my lady and be like, I feel that for you. And that's, you know, when you go to a Jah Works show, you know, you could ask a lady to dance with you and she'd dance with you, a pretty lady.
Yeah.
And that's a good feeling. And, you know, only a good love song will do that, really kind of take you away. And even a song about lament and a song about, you know, the downside of love can really, you know, grab your heart and take you somewhere else, and hopefully somewhere else that's healing.
Yeah. Well, the real good love songs, even when I'm not in love, they make me go back in time to when I was, or they can help me kind of transport myself ahead of time to when I will be again. You know, they're kind of like a vehicle, if you will. You know, there's where you get lost in that emotion for 5 minutes, 4 minutes, and it's just it's a way to transport yourself.
I'm Chef Egg, and we're going to get underneath the shell of the most creative people in Baltimore. This is What's Crackin' with Chef Egg.